Hi students. So in the last classes we have dealt the topics on DC generators. We have seen first the construction and principle of operation of a DC generator. Then we have discussed the EMF equation, and we have also seen the problems in connection with that. Then later we had discussed the types of DC generators, and there also we have discussed the problems in connection with that. So now we move to the DC motor now. Of course, the types of DC generators is the same as that of types of DC motors. So only thing, the way of connection of the power supply changes. So now we move to DC motor, or we will see how the same DC machine can work as a DC motor. So the constructional details you remember, wherein the main parts are it has two windings. Armature is the winding wherein EMF is induced, and the other winding, which we call it as the field winding, to which we apply the DC potential so as to make the flux which is required for the operation of the generator. And of course, in generator action we need a prime mover, so which will move the armature by the turbine, and the EMF is induced. So now what we are going to discuss is it is the motoring action. Same machine, how it can work as a motor, or how if we supply electrical energy to the armature, how that electrical energy is converted into mechanical energy. So that is what a motor does. So now we consider the simplest way of explanation, wherein we consider the magnetic poles. For the simplicity, I am considering only two magnetic poles, N and S. So within which we have the armature, and in armature you have plenty of conductors. So all these are armature conductors situated in the slots. Okay. Now we have to see how the same machine can work as a motor. So in this case, of course, remember, when you have two magnetic poles, remember we have the magnetic flux created. So these are the main magnetic flux which is created by the field coil. So magnetic flux moving from the direction is from N to S. So this we call it as the main flux. Now when we have to convert electrical energy into mechanical energy, so what do we do is, this field magnetic flux is produced by the EMF, small EMF DC voltage which we give to the field. Now when the motoring action has to happen, we have to apply the voltage to the armature conductors, electrical power to the armature conductor. So we have current passing through this armature conductor. Okay. So now we know that according to thumb rule, whenever current passes through a conductor, the flux is generated, magnetic flux is generated around the conductors. So when we have current passing through this conductors, suppose I consider a single conductor here, so assume that there is magnetic flux, circular magnetic flux around the conductor. So the direction of which I can mark like this, see, rotate like this, so magnetic flux like this. So this is so in this side it will be upward. So this is the circular magnetic field which is produced around each and every conductor of the armature. So now what we can observe is we have two fluxes working on the same armature conductor. So one is the main flux which is produced by the field winding, and the other is the armature current created flux. So now a torque is produced because of the interaction of these two magnetic fluxes. Or for further explanation, you can see that suppose I consider this conductor, so in which the main flux is working downward. On one side of the armature conductor, what happens is the main flux as well as the armature current flux, they are in the same direction, or they are additive in nature. But if you look onto the other side of the same conductor, here the main flux opposes the armature current flux. So what will happen? Each and every conductor of the armature experiences a torque, because in one side the magnetic flux gets additive in nature, and the other side they get subtractive. So weakens, the flux weakens, and we know that magnetic flux is like stretched elastic lines. So it experiences or it produces a torque which acts tangential on the armature, and the armature try to rotate. So the direction of rotation of the armature is given by Fleming's left hand rule. So Fleming's left hand rule, which will give you the direction of rotation of the armature. So now by the applied electrical EMF, the external potential and the flux produced by the main DC field produces the torque, which will move the rotate the armature. That is how the electrical energy is converted into mechanical energy. So that the torque produced is given by the equation BIL sin theta newtons. So that is the torque produced by the armature, wherein B, you know that the flux density, and I is the current passing through the conductors, and L sin theta is the effective length of the conductor, which comes perpendicular to the flux. So that is the equation for the produced torque. So that is about the operation of a DC machine as a motor. So now in this regard we have another two terms which we call it as back EMF and its significance. So now what is back EMF in a motor? So we have seen that when you apply a voltage, the armature rotates. So now think of the scenario of a generator. In generator, what was happening was when you rotate the armature, because of the flux getting cut, an EMF was inducing in the armature. So now remember, same situation happens here also. Once the armature starts rotation, the case is just similar to a generator, because flux is there, armature is rotating, in which conductors are placed. So the flux is cut by the armature conductors again, and an EMF is induced in the conductors, which is opposite to the applied voltage. So that EMF we call it as the back EMF, and is represented by EB. So this is opposite to the direction of which is given by Lenz's law, so which is opposite to the applied voltage. So the direction of which is given by Lenz's law. So now what is its significance? So I hope you understood what is back EMF. The EMF which is produced in a motor when the motor starts rotating, as the condition is similar to that of a generator. So now we have to see what is its significance. Means you know that at starting a motor, at starting what happens to the speed of the motor? Speed of the motor is very, very less. Or if I draw the electrical equivalent of a motor, what I can draw is, of course we make use of the similar symbol here which we used it for the generator. So we have the armature here, and it has a resistance inside which we call it as Ra, and the EMF is induced opposite to the applied, so this we call it as EB, the back EMF, and here is the voltage which you are applying, V. So in generator we used to say Vt, which is the terminal voltage. Don't get confused here. This is the applied voltage. So that is the DC applied voltage, plus here and minus here. So we are supplying this. So of course the current direction here will be this way. So this will be Ia. And of course we have the field winding here. Suppose we consider a shunt wound generator, motor, shunt wound motor. So this is ISH. So now if I consider this loop like apply KVL to this loop, what I can write is V minus IARA, which is the drop. So here plus, here minus. So V minus IARA minus EB equals 0. So this is the KVL. If I apply in this loop, I can write it as, because here plus, so V minus IARA. So the loop, when you consider, this is minus and this plus, so we have a voltage rise, so I am considering that as V positive. Then here plus, here minus, so it's a voltage drop. Same way, this is acting opposite to the applied voltage, so minus, so it is 0. Or I can write it as V equals IARA plus EB, if I take these two to the other side. So what is IA equals? IA equals V minus EB divided by RA. V minus EB divided by RA. So now what is EB? What is the value of EB? I can write it as the other way, according to the generating principle. I can also write EB as phi Z NP by 60A, which we have derived earlier, the EMF equation. So instead of EG, I will write EB here because this is the back EMF. So the same equation we can apply here because it is working on the same principles of generation. So now what I can write, what is the proportionality? What I can write is, if everything other parameters remaining same, EB is proportional to speed of the motor, speed of the motor, because we know that all the other parameters are constant here, phi ZP A 60. So I can say EB is proportional to N. So at starting, the value of EB is almost 0, or as it picks up speed, the EB value goes on increasing. So at first what will happen is, at EB is 0, IA value becomes equal to, at starting, IA value equals V divided by RA, because EB is 0, and this value, because value of RA we know is very, very less, of the order of 0.02 ohms, like that. So what will happen to the value of motor current at starting? It will be very high. Applied voltage is high. So as the RA of the motor is very low, the current produced at starting will be very high, which may be many times more than the the maximum rating of the winding. So it may damage even the winding. So So this is the current relation. So this voltage which is generated inside the motor, we call it as the back EMF. So now the relevance is according to the back EMF. If the at starting we know that the load on the motor will be very high. So it need a high current at starting. So at starting, because of the back EMF being very less, because of speed being very low, the current produced will be high so as to drive the high torque. As the motor, the load on the motor reduces, the speed increases. So when the speed increases, the EB value also will be more, so that the equation will become V minus EB divided by RA, and the current, armature current accordingly reduces. So when torque on the motor is high, armature current also will be high, and in this case, so as to do the particular work, and when the load on the motor reduces, the mechanical load on the motor reduces, the speed will be more, and accordingly EB value will be more, and the current will be less. So what we can say is the EB, the back EMF, automatically adjusts or regulates the torque required for the operation. So that is the significance of back EMF in a DC motor. I hope it is clear to you. So now let us have another concept here, which is the voltage equation of a motor. Voltage equation, actually we have written already. Voltage equation of a motor means DC motor. So we have already written, we have already considered the electrical equivalent of that. So it is V minus IARA, or V is equal to, again, right? V is equal to IARA plus EB. So this is known as the voltage equation of the DC motor. Now if I multiply this with the current, the armature current on both sides of the equation, I can get power equation of a DC motor. So I write power equation of a DC motor. So I make use of the same equation. So I multiply both sides with IA. V into IA equals IA squared, because I am multiplying with IA here, IA squared RA plus EB into IA. So now let's see what are these components refers to, because the first component is V into IA. So what we can say that as? V into IA is nothing but the power input which we are giving, the power input to the DC motor. So this is the power input to the motor equals, now what is IA squared RA? We know that I squared R is nothing but the heat losses, or that is the losses present in the, it's equivalent to the losses present in the motor. Now what is EB into IA? So EB into IA can be said as, it is equivalent to, electrical equivalent of the torque produced by the motor. So if we write the electrical equation or electrical characteristics, what we can say is EB into IA is the electrical equivalent of mechanical power produced by the motor. So this is the electrical power input. V into IA is the electrical power input to the motor, which is equal to losses plus electrical equivalent of the mechanical power produced by the motor. So that is known as the power equation of a DC motor. So we have seen 3 or rather 4 different things today. First one what we discussed was the DC motor or operation of the DC machine as a motor. We have seen there are 2 torques acting together on the armature, which indirectly produces the torque, and that torque is given by BIL sin theta newtons, and the direction of rotation of the motor can be governed by Fleming's left hand rule. So what is Fleming's left hand rule? We'll just refresh once. If we hold the first 3 fingers of the left hand mutually perpendicular, if the direction of applied EMF is given by the middle finger and forefinger indicates the direction of the magnetic field, then the thumb indicates the direction of rotation of the armature or the motor. So that is what is Fleming's left hand rule, that will tell us the direction of rotation. Then what we have seen other terms is in this regard is back EMF. Back EMF and its significance we have seen, and we have seen that back EMF indirectly controls or regulates the torque required for the motoring action by controlling the armature current. And then voltage equation we have seen, which is V is equal to IaRa. We are considering this loop of the motor connection diagram or the circuit diagram. So we have seen the voltage equation. Then from voltage equation we have derived the power equation. So the power equation we have the different terms V into Ia. V into Ia is nothing but the electrical power input to the motor. Ia squared Ra is the losses, the heating losses which happens in a motor, electrical equivalent of that, and we have Eb into Ia, which is the electrical equivalent of the mechanical power developed by the armature or the motor. So with these topics we finish this particular class. Thank you. So now we move to the next topic, which is torque equation of a DC motor. Torque equation of a DC motor. So we have seen that with the interaction of the 2 fluxes, we have seen that there is a torque produced and the armature rotates. Now what we will see, what is the amount of torque which is developed. So now consider the diameter of the drum or the motor or the armature. Let us consider that as R, radius is R, and the force, tangential force acting on the motor or the armature is F. So that is the tangential force acting. So now what is the work done per revolution? Work done per revolution. So we can say that it is F into, because work done is force into distance travelled. So it is F into 2 pi R. How come it is 2 pi R? Because 2 pi R is the circumference of the drum. So in one revolution the distance travelled is nothing but 2 pi R. So it is work done as force into the distance travelled. So it is F into 2 pi R. Now what is the power developed? Power developed is work done divided by time. Power is nothing but the work done divided by time. So now we know that the RPM is nothing but revolutions per minute. So what is the time required for one revolution? Time required for one revolution, we can say that it is 60 divided by n, because when you convert RPM into per second, it will become divided by 60. Revolutions per minute is n, capital N. So revolutions per second will be n divided by 60, or the time required for one revolution we can write it as 60 divided by n, where n is the RPM of rotation or the speed of rotation. Now what is power developed then? So power developed is work done divided by time. So work done is F into 2 pi R divided by 60 divided by n. or I can write it as F into R into 2 pi n, taking this n up, 2 pi n by 60. Or I can even write it as, what is F into R known as? Force into distance. So it is nothing but, I can rewrite it as the torque developed by the armature TA into 2 pi n by 60. I can write it as omega. So 2 pi n by 60 is the angular velocity. So I have replaced it with TA into omega, or I'll call this as equation number 1. So how we come to this conclusion? Work done per revolution is force into the 2 pi r, which is the distance travelled. So power developed is work done divided by time. So we have found out what is the time for one revolution. We know that the speed of the armature is n rpm, which is revolutions per minute. So revolutions per second will be n divided by 60. So if I make it 60 by n, that will give the time required for one revolution. So that is n rpm. Now the power developed is, I have to multiply F into 2 pi r, of course, and then divided by 60 by n. So by rearranging F into R, so that is nothing but the torque for force. F into R is the torque, and rearranging this 2 pi n, taking up, divided by 60. 2 pi n by 60 is nothing but omega, which is the angular velocity. So now this is the say power equation we got. Now we also know that the power equation, or in electrical aspect, is nothing but it is V into Ia equals Ia squared Ra plus Eb into Ia. So in the previous class we have discussed, and we know that Eb into Ia is the electrical equivalent of the mechanical power developed. So if we equate this generated power, or which is PM, we can equate that to Eb into Ia. So it is TA into omega, or rather I'll put 2 pi n by 60 equals Eb is phi z n p by 60A into Ia. This total is nothing but Eb. So now if we cancel off the similar terms, we have n here, 60 and 60. So if we rewrite torque into TA into 2 pi equals phi z p divided by A into I. So if I cross multiply, it will become TA into 2 pi A equals 2 pi A equals phi z p Ia. So I can get TA as TA equals phi z p into Ia divided by 2 pi A. So 1 by 2 pi phi z so this is the equation of the torque developed by the armature. So it is 1 by 2 pi phi Ia Zp by A. I can also rewrite this as 1 by 2 pi Zp by A into phi Ia. So, and even 1 by 2 pi can be rewritten as 0.159. That also can be done. Anyway, this why I have put Zp by A together is They are nothing but the constant parameters which is about the constructional details. The number of conductors, P is the number of poles, and A is the number of parallel paths in the armature. So that belongs to the parts. So that's why I put it together. Phi and Ia can be a variable parameter there. So we can say that the armature torque developed TA is equal to 1 by 2 pi Zp by A into phi into Ia. So this is a very important relation which we require for further, wherein we discuss the applications of different types of DC motors. So that is the torque developed or torque equation of a DC motor is given by TA equals 1 by 2 pi Zp by A into phi Ia, and the unit will be Newton meter because it is the torque. So that's all about the torque equation of the DC motor. Thank you. Hi students. So we were discussing the topics regarding DC machines. So out of which we have completed 2 topics. One was regarding the constructional details, then the working principles we have seen, and later in the last class we have discussed the EMF equation, and we have also solved problems in connection with EMF equation. So now we move to the next topic, which is types of DC generators. Types of DC generators. See, DC generators are classified according to the type of field connection actually. So before going to that, let me just say how do you represent, or what is a symbol, how do you represent a DC generator. See, to represent a DC generator we make use of, see, a circle. So this circle with this represents the brushes, so that means this is the armature. So this is the armature, so this is the symbol how to represent a DC generator or a DC machine. So this is the armature and these two are the brushes. So you need to assume that there is a winding inside. So then what else we have in the machine? So this is the armature we have. Then what we have is we have the field winding. So field winding will be represented like this, field winding. Then what else we have? How the EMF is generated? We need to have a prime mover. So this field winding will produce the magnetic flux. This is the armature, and this armature will be coupled to a prime mover which will move, which will rotate the armature. So the turbine will be coupled to the armature. So we need to show so this is the prime mover. So these are the parts. So this armature, normally I'll represent it as A dash, which is the armature inside with the brushes, and this is the field winding which will be, say, F dash, which is the field winding. So now magnetic flux is produced by the field armature, and this armature is connected or coupled to the prime mover or the turbine. When the turbine rotates, this armature rotates and EMF is induced in the armature. So the EMF induced is, normally it is shown above, so it is the induced EMF, EG, generated EMF. So these are the things by which you represent a DC generator. And when we talk about the electrical characteristics or the voltage and the current and other things, we normally don't show this prime mover part because that is a mechanical connection. So we can ignore this prime mover in the further discussions. So that's about the symbol or how to represent a DC machine or DC generator. So now according to the field connection, we classify this DC generators mainly into three. That means, or first we can say they are classified as mainly two types. The first classification, separately excited DC generators and self excited DC generators. So separately excited and self excited. So separately excited means the field winding is connected, it's an external circuit. It is not connected with the generator circuit, or you can represent it as so this is the DC supply which you supply to the generator, and this is the generator or which will produce the induced EMF EG. And if you connect a load here, this we call it as the load, the resistive load or whatever. And so in such case I can mark this is the terminal voltage Vt which is across the load, and this is the induced EMF Eg, and this is the current passing, let us say IL, because this is load current. That is also same as the armature current, so I can even mark IA here. And this is the applied DC voltage to the field, and this is the field winding IF. So this is the particular details of a separately excited DC generator. Now coming to self-excited DC generators, you can have different types of connections of the field, and accordingly they are classified. So self-excited DC generators can be classified as DC shunt generator, DC series generator, and DC compound generator. So the shunt generator is the generator in which the field winding is connected in parallel with the armature winding. So a DC series generator is the one in which the field winding is connected in series with the armature winding. And compound generator has two types, or it has two windings. So accordingly they are classified further into two as long shunt generator and short shunt generators, because they have two field windings. So what is the requirement of two field windings? Means to create more magnetic flux. That means the EMF induced also will be very high. So wherever we require very high voltage to be induced, in such cases we will make use of compound winding. So two field windings which will produce the magnetic flux. Now these compound generators actually are also classified as cumulatively compounded and differentially compounded. So these two can be connected as cumulatively compounded and differentially compounded. So that means if the flux produced by the shunt field winding it adds with the series field winding. In such case, field winding flux, in such case we call it as cumulatively compounded. If the flux produced by one winding is opposing to the flux produced by the other winding, in such cases we call it as differentially compounded. So now we will see the different types of the field connection, how they are connected and how the voltages and currents are related, and even what is the power produced across the load or by the armature. So I hope you are clear. Mainly they are classified into separately excited and self-excited. In separately excited generators, there is no connection between the armature circuit and the field circuit. The field is separate and we apply a DC voltage to the field. And the armature circuit is connected to the load. Whereas in self-excited generators, you can have three types: shunt connected parallel, series connected armature and field are in parallel, and in compound generator there can be two types of long shunt and short shunt, and they can further, these two can also be divided as cumulatively compounded or differentially compounded, according to which the flux is aiding or they are in opposite direction. So these are the types. Now we will discuss one by one in detail. And when I say DC generator, I can even make you similar classification in DC motor also. So I can even say this is the way of classification of the DC machines, rather generators, according to the way of the field connections. So let us analyze one by one. DC shunt generator. So this is the way I connect the DC shunt generator, in which the field winding F dash is connected parallel to the armature winding, and this is the external load RL which we connect. So I can mark this field current as ISH because it is the shunt field winding, so it is ISH, and this here I can mark it as IA because this is the armature current, and this is the load current. As see, when the generator doesn't have the field winding which is separately, we have the generated EMF driving the field winding as well as the load. So we will mark the arrows in this fashion because IA is more compared to any of the, or the current is produced by the generator, so the current is flowing out of the generator, so the arrow is like this. So ISH flows this way and IL flows this way. So I can mark the terminal voltage across the load as VT, and EG is the induced EMF. Of course you remember this is A dash, which is the armature. So remember that you have an armature resistance inside here. So I can mark that resistance as say RA, the armature resistance, the resistance of the armature winding, which will be very less compared to the shunt field resistance. So now how will I represent the currents as well as the voltage relations? So how can I write in this circuit? If I apply KCL here, the current enter at this node, the current entering is IA and ISH and IL are leaving the node. So or I can write it as, in this case, IA equals IL plus ISH. IA equals IL plus ISH. ISH represents the shunt field current. Now, what is the relation between EG and VT, the terminal voltage? Do you think they are the same? EG and VT? They are not the same because there is a voltage drop in the armature resistance. So even though the induced EMF is higher, there is a drop in the armature resistance. So we need to subtract that to get the voltage across the load, which is VT. So what I can write is VT equals EG minus IA RA, where IA is the current passing through the armature and RA is the resistance of the armature winding. Now, what is the power developed at the armature? If I say power developed at the armature PA, it is power is voltage into current. So I can say it is EG into IA. Whereas the power developed across the load is equal to the voltage across the load multiplied by the current. So it is VT multiplied by IL. So that is the power developed across the load. So these are the voltage and current and power equations considering a DC shunt generator. So now we see what happens in a DC series generator. So in such case, suppose I start with the armature. So now here the winding will be connected in series with the armature winding and the load will be connected across that. So this is the load connected, and so I can mark this current as IA, and this is same as the field current because it's a series connection. So here I mark that current as ISC because it's a series field current, and this is the voltage VT which is happening or applied across the load. So internally remember we have RA connected here, and this is the induced EMF or generated EMF EG. So now here we can write the equations as current IA. If I say current IA equals ISC equals IL. ISC is the series field current. So all are equal. IA equals ISC equals IL because it's a series connection. Now here what about VT? VT here will be EG minus what all drops we have. So we have a drop across RA, so which is IA into RA, and also the same current is flowing through the series winding. So let the resistance of series winding be RSC. So in such case we have a drop across RSC. So I have to write EG minus IA RA minus IA RSC. So which is the drop across the series winding, or I can rewrite this as EG minus, this is ISC, ISC is same as IA, so I have written IA. So I can write it as EG minus IA into RA plus RSC. So that is the VT. Now how can I write the equation for power developed across the armature PA? armature power. So it is Eg into Ia, and power developed across the load will be, it is again Vt into, I can write Ia, it is same as IL. So both are one and the same. So these are the equations which I can write for the series generator, DC series generator, wherein the winding is connected in series with the armature. So in this case, actually if we have to calculate the current ISH, how will you because they all are in series, so you don't have to calculate it separately. But in this case, if you have to calculate ISH, what we need to do is, it will be, in case I need to calculate ISH, ISH equals, this Vt is the same as the voltage which comes across the field. So I can write Vt divided by, if the winding resistance, if I mark it as RSH, so I can write it as Vt divided by RSH. So that way you can calculate the shunt field current ISH, which is V divided by R. So V is not Eg, the V across the field is only Vt. So because there is a resistance here, so it is ISH equals Vt divided by RSH. So these are the two different conditions. Now we will see the next case, wherein how it happens in a long shunt as well as a short shunt generator.